Good afternoon and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. I'm here to take a look at the pitching for today, the 11th of August. It is Tuesday and we do have a 12-game main slate ahead of us this evening. Some slight weather concerns, but I don't think it's anything major. So we'll just take a look at pitching for what it is. A reminder that this is a first look at the pitching options on the slate, and I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you play in FanDuel, cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Now, with all that said and done, let's just jump right in. 24 pitchers to go through. Trying to cut that in half or so, maybe a little bit more, and then we can spend the next couple hours kind of digging in on the borderline guys in our mind, while also trying to finalize, I guess, our ranking order, which I tend to do on the site for the members of DFS Army within my notes. So let's just jump in. First game, Seattle and New York. Yeah, Brian Wu. Big question here. Which Wu is going to show up? His road numbers are absolutely atrocious. Just ridiculous. Extreme home road splits. What happens here against the Yankees team that's kind of struggled, and they do strike out plenty. Is there GPP upside in Wu? Probably. Am I going to be using him? I don't think so. That's kind of one of the big debates for me as the afternoon progresses. Do I really want to gamble with Wu on the road? Let's see. His last acceptable road start, 27.9 against Houston 3 months ago. 3 whole months ago. And then he had 26 over 4 months ago. So he's only had 2 road starts on the season where he's had above like 13 fantasy points. That doesn't make me feel good. 2 of 12, really. Just not the best spot. On the other side, you get Ryan Weathers. The overall Seattle offense has struggled quite a bit. Weathers has looked pretty good over his last 2 starts. Strikeouts are down a little bit, so there's some hesitation there, and he does have some walk issues at times. But the big thing is if he limits the home run ball, he had a bad stretch here in May and June. He's only given up 1 home run over his last 8 starts. If he's able to limit that home run ball, I think he has a ton of upside. 18 fantasy points against him in the first meeting, and that was just in 4 1/3. He's not as strong at home, obviously. I mean, the ballpark's much better for hitting, for sure. Home run rate jumps. But I still think there's a ton of upside. He's one of my favorite GBP options on this slate. Obviously, depending on weather, we see the DK has the weather symbol here. I'm just not sure what our weather guy has to say about the Yankee game. I'll try to bring that up quick here on the other. Just says it's a low delay threat, so I think we should be good there. Boston, Toronto. Maybe Boston's offense is starting to cool down a little bit. Sandoval, a pitcher that I've liked over the years, just not the best spot. He's not a huge K guy, and taking on Toronto, they don't strike a whole lot. One of his 5 starts so far has come against Toronto. Was pretty solid, 4 2/3 of 0-run ball, but just 3 strikeouts, just 12 fantasy points. It's just not really a spot I'm interested in on this slate. Dylan Cease, on the other hand, is somebody I'm very interested in. He's made 3 starts against Boston already. He just dropped a 51, a complete game shutout with 12 strikeouts against them. And that's during this stretch of hot offense by Boston, or at least the previous stretch and their undefeated run and all that stuff, the big winning streak, 28-3 or 25-3 or whatever it was, over a large sample size. 120 pitches, that's quite a bit, but he's been phenomenal since then. Just 1 run allowed in 13 innings with 17 strikeouts since. I'm going to be all about Dylan Cease. I think his other 2 starts against Boston were so. One was good, and I'm going to guess that one was really, really bad. 8 fantasy points. Just a ton of upside, so you just can't really pass on Dylan Cease. Mets and Atlanta. Martin Perez, Probably not somebody I'm getting to. I don't really want to chase this 30 fantasy point performance. Um, Completely random, really, in my eyes. 3 appearances against the Mets, averaging sub 9 fantasy points per start. Whip of 1.5, average against or at 300. Just a good spot, I think, for the Mets again. But obviously, I think some people might not want to chase the Mets after their hot start last night, and I understand it. They kind of faded a little bit as the late game went on, but much rather be on the Mets bats than Martin Perez. On the other side, you get Nolan McLean. Ton of upside. We finally saw one of the big upside games about a month ago. 19 fantasy points against Atlanta, 13. He's kind of all over the place, which we kind of expect. Atlanta is a difficult matchup, but he's been phenomenal on the road. His home run rate plummets. He's got some decent numbers against some of the bats of Atlanta. Like Olson's been the hottest hitter, and he's absolutely dominated him in previous meetings. So Nolan McLean definitely somebody we want in our GPP pool, especially for large field, because his ceiling is up there amongst a couple of the higher ones. I don't think he can match somebody like Cease, but few are going to be able to the way that Cease is pitching this season. White Sox Cincinnati. You get Sean Burke coming off of his worst start in a while, couple months. Probably a pretty good bounce back spot. He had been phenomenal. Basically 26 plus fantasy points in 5 straight previous to his last start. And this last start did come against a hot Boston squad. So you can kind of give him a little bit of a pass for that. Prior to this last start, he had 9 plus strikeouts in 4 of the previous 5. Cincinnati strikes out a ton. He's a little weaker at home, but still just a big K rate, big time upside. Sean Burke should be one of the more popular pitchers on this slate. Baltimore, Minnesota. Bailey Ober is pitching at home, where his splits are so much better. He struggled with Baltimore the first time he faced them. I'm just not going to play Bailey Ober. I don't think he has enough upside for me. Averaging 18 DK points per game at home probably is decent enough, but I think he's, it's somewhat skewed on 2 starts. He put up 30 at home against Cincinnati, 42 at home against Miami. Aside from that, he doesn't have more than 18 fantasy points at home. So a lot of it's skewing it. I'm going to pass on Ober, even though we've been picking on Baltimore with some pitching recently. On the other side, Brandon Young. Last couple starts haven't been very strong. Home runs have gotten him, etc. I'm kind of on the fence on what to do with Brandon Young. I've been playing him, but it doesn't feel great. His K rate's not the greatest. Home runs allowed on the road plummets, so that's always nice to see. So he is at his best kind of when he's on the road, but he has just 3 starts above 19 fantasy points on the season. So it's not like we're potentially passing on somebody that is dominant, on a somewhat regular basis. So I don't know. Brandon Young's somebody I want to debate. I think I prefer the Minnesota Bats, to be honest. Philadelphia, St. Louis. We get Christopher Sanchez. He's kind of been all over the place recently. Had some walk issues, which is something that we're not used to seeing out of him. But even when he had some walk issues, he's also picked up some strikeouts. St. Louis, not a huge strikeout squad, but I do like left-handed pitching against them much more than right-handed pitching. His road numbers actually have been pretty bad. Somebody like Sanchez, of his ability, etc., to have a 339 average against on the road and a whip of nearly 1.5 is insane to me. That does give a little bit of a cause for some concern here, but I am going to include Sanchez in my pool. He's not going to be my highest owned, I can definitely say that, but it's really tough to pass on a pitcher of that talent. Andre Payente on the other side. He's probably a better play than the Brandon Young play. The top of the Phillies lineup seems to be heating up a little bit. He's not a huge K guy, but there's a boost in strikeouts. He hasn't been very good in this ballpark, though, so right now I'm leaning on the pass of Payente, but he and Brandon Young are 2 guys that I am going to spend the next hour or so trying to decide if I need to include them in my pool. Texas LA, Ryan Johnson, I'm not going there. I'm just not trying to catch lightning in a bottle at this point. I'll pass. Cody Bradford, somebody I'm going to play. Gets the K boost matchup. Made his return through 4 1/3, 70 pitches. We should see an increase in pitch numbers here. His whip was kind of high, so that's a little bit of a worry, but it is the Angels. Plenty of strikeout upside. The matchup that we kind of want to have for our pitchers, so no problem going with Bradford. Arizona, Colorado. Shigano against Arizona. No, thank you. Arizona just doesn't strike out enough. Just 10 fantasy points per start against Arizona. He's been worse on the road than at Coors. I just don't need to go there. Mitch Brott, I am going to go there. I hate the idea of chasing this start after he's been pretty bad, in 5 starts. But Colorado is so bad against left-handed pitching on the road that I just want to utilize him. I hate the idea of playing him after this. I just don't see this happening again. But because he was able to do this against San Diego at home, there's got to be a decent shot at upside into the mid to upper 20s at home against this Colorado lineup. So that's the reason I'm going to play Brott. Tampa Bay and the A's absolutely nailed Jacob Lopez last night. If only the A's bullpen didn't absolutely blow it. Mason Barnett, not the same pitcher as Jacob Lopez. He is right-handed. That's probably not a good sign. He has allowed 5 home runs in 17 2/3 home innings, so just a great spot for Tampa Bay offense. On the other side, you get Nick Martinez. Somebody I am going to play. He went into Coors and was pretty good. It's a great hitter's ballpark for sure, but there are some weaknesses to the A's lineup. He's been best on the road. Just 5 home runs allowed in 58 1/3 innings. Not a huge K guy, but he does get a K boost. I think he's just one of those guys that probably ends up 18 to 22 fantasy points on this slate. A lot of times I probably would pass on something like that, but I'm starting to include those guys just in case the other volatile guys just kind of get blown up. Milwaukee, San Diego. No thank you on Walker Buehler. Right-handed pitching against Milwaukee, not really my thing unless they're super dominant, and that's not what Walker Buehler is. Kyle Harrison on the other side is somebody that I am going to play. Put up 26 fantasy points against San Diego earlier. 34 in his first start back off the IL. Left early because of some calf issue or whatever, but was absolutely dominant against Pittsburgh. I'm going there. He's much worse on the road, so that is a worry, but still, I love the upside for GPP purposes, so no problem going that route on this slate. Houston, San Francisco, the next one. Wisenhunt, no thank you. I just don't think there's enough here, even though Houston can struggle against left-handed pitching. Hunter Brown, definitely going to Hunter Brown. Obviously, he's turned things around over the last few starts. Maybe we won't get this dominant start again, but he's starting to turn around. Walks are down. Strikeouts have kind of come back up, and this ballpark is obviously one that I am going to love taking pitching in. So Hunter Brown going to be one of my main pitchers on this slate this evening. Last game on the slate, Kansas City and the Dodgers. Michael Wacha. I think some people are going to try to make a case for Wacha. I'm not going to get there. He's worse on the road. I'm kind of expecting the Dodgers to wake up at some point. I'm already playing Nick Martinez, who I think, is kind of similar to Wacha. And I just think it's a slightly better matchup for Martinez, so that's why I'm going there. I don't really want to play Wacha. Blake Snell coming back from the IL. I'm interested a little bit. The big thing for me is how many innings are we going to get? We don't really know. He went just 3 2/3 in his last one, but 73 pitches means he's probably an 80 to 85 pitch guy. 5 innings, maybe. He has the ability to show up in those 5 innings, so that's why he's going to be in my pool. I haven't seen what ownership projections are. If he's projected to be super popular, then I have to go extremely underweight. But there we have it. There's our first look at pitching on the slate. If you enjoyed what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell, and get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., there will be a link in the description below. You can use promo code BOOK, BOOK, for 20% off any membership. Best of luck, everybody.